Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Not sure why I'm chuckling today. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Weenie Button, who says, "My dad is having an affair with a 29-year-old woman." I never post on Reddit and I'm also on mobile, so sorry if formatting is ugly. Today I experienced the definition of fuck around and find out. Some background. Almost a year ago, my family experienced the loss of my grandpa, my dad's father. It was sudden and it struck my father really hard. He started having more emotional outbursts, being more reclusive, etc. We tried our best to be understanding and help him in any way he needed. He found himself a therapist and seemed to be working through a lot of his feelings and thoughts. He still wasn't acting entirely like the him we once knew, but death affects everyone differently, and this made his behavior easy to excuse. My dad and I don't live in the same city, and we often meet up at halfway points for lunch. We have always been close, so it's commonplace for us to talk about our feelings, emotions, and recent life events with each other. Now to the story. During our first lunch since my grandpa's passing, I noticed my dad talking a lot about this new girl at his work. We will call her Stacy. He said that Stacy helping him through a lot of his trauma and being there for him. Stacy's husband had been through some similar traumas that my dad had experienced, and that was being brought up in therapy, so he said she offered him support. He felt he could be himself around her. He made it abundantly clear that he did not feel he could be himself around his wife of 20 years. My mum, but that he could with Stacy. I thought that this was an odd comment to make, and I think this is where my suspicions of their real intentions began. But I knew he was struggling, and it made me feel relieved that he had someone he trusted. It struck me a little weird that she was 29, but again, sometimes workplaces can create weird and unexpected friendships, and with me being 26, I wondered if he maybe saw her as another daughter, since I wasn't able to be around much due to the distance. He assured me that Stacy was married to a man named Andrew. They were strictly friends, but in his own words, people from his work had started to think something was going on between them, so they had stopped talking at work and moved to texting. He even went so far as to later in the conversation say that he thinks a strong marriage should be able to survive someone cheating. I assured him that wasn't healthy, and I'm not sure what kind of relationship he wanted with his wife, but I did not want a relationship founded on infidelity. Obviously, my alarm bells were going off. With what little information I had on Stacy, I went and found her online. I stalked her, and just like my dad said, she was seemingly in a young, happy marriage with Andrew. She kept her social media pretty private, but from what I could see, she looked like your average 29-year-old woman. I couldn't possibly imagine what she would want with my dad, and if anything, I thought maybe my dad had a work crush that he was reading too much into. No one wants to think that their dad could be capable of a full-blown affair. Over the next few visits with my dad, I would hear him continually talk about Stacy when telling stories about work or talking about his friends. She always seemed to come up. Couldn't help but notice that he would avoid calling her by name. She would just be she or her or girl from work. It's as if he completely forgot the thing he had told me about her, or as if he was afraid to say her name around me. Infidelity is never mentioned again, but he's always talking about how he's fighting with my mum, Lily. How he goes through therapy. She might not like the man he's becoming. He tells me how he's standing his ground and getting into verbal arguments with her. I imagine this is self-sabotage due to his guilt because of the cheating. Fast forward to today. About a year since I first heard about Stacy. I went on my laptop, which I do not use often. I opened Instagram and I realized I still had my dad's login credentials saved on my computer from a one-off back in 2016. My dad is and has always been sketchy with his password, so I assumed that likely it wouldn't work, but I tried to log in anyways. To my surprise, I was in. I won't even pretend like I didn't know exactly what I was looking for or like I'm above looking through his DMs. This is also where I fucked around and found out. I opened their DMs, which were pretty bleak at first. I thought that I could rest my suspicions, more like hoped, until I couldn't. It started out with sending corny photos to each other. Things about, you can kiss me whenever you want, I'm yours, and your arms feel like home and I'm homesick. Really juvenile, weird shit. Things I wouldn't send to a coworker if you paid me. Still in denial, I kept scrolling, and that's when I saw it. Nudes. From her only, thank God. Full-blown sexting conversations. Conversations about their existing partners and the potential of them leaving for each other. I love yous. Conversations with their plans to sleep together for the first time, etc, etc, etc. You get the picture. All of my suspicions laid out in front of me. He was willing to risk it all for a married woman 3 years older than his daughter. He was willing to hurt the woman he had supposedly loved for 20 years, destroy his family, destroy Stacy's family. For what? Absolute fucking selfishness. The worst part for me was that they actively talk about their existing partners in this chat. Stacy is always making fun of my mum. Does Lily wear bras for you? Does Lily let you go down on her with her bush, lol? As if Stacy couldn't become more a disgusting human. As if she's not already sleeping with a 53-year-old married father of 2. She has to degrade his wife, an innocent victim in this situation. They assure each other that they love their current partner so much that it hurts, and they don't understand how they can have the capacity to love 2 people at the same time. It's disgusting and childish. I don't know how this ends. They still work together and closely together. I cannot bring myself to tell my mum. I don't want my dad to know I know. I don't want him to feel backed into a corner like he has to tell my mum. I want him to tell my mum because he knows it's the right thing to do. I've looked up to my dad my whole life, and I feel like the whole view I had of him as this selfless, loving, caring family man has been shattered. I'm so disappointed in his actions, and I don't know what to do. It's eating away at me. Edit. I was told it would be beneficial to add that my parents do have a kid who is a minor who lives with them. I've not known about this affair the entire time. I found out about it on Thursday, so please stop saying that I'm intentionally holding this secret from my father. My parents share an email account, and I will not see my mum in person until probably Christmas. I feel incredibly sorry for your mum, who's going to have to be dealing with this at some point or another. And I think basically she needs to know. She deserves to know. And we've seen all sorts of stories over time with infidelity, where people face these similar dilemmas and they don't know how to approach it. And the comments are always immediately that you should, tell the person who's being lied to they deserve to know. And, absolutely I agree to that. And people always say in these stories that, you should have the proof just in case that they don't believe you. Some people go into denial about these things and say, oh no, he would never do that. Where's your proof? And then turn it around on you. We've definitely seen stories like that in the past. I'm not saying that OP shouldn't do it at all, but just be aware. But Smashing says, I've lived through something similar. Maybe my story can help you figure out your next step. My dad cheated on my mum a couple of times when I was a teenager. It was bad, but they worked through it. Fast forward to my early 30s, my mum was suspicious that he was lying about a trip he was taking. I hacked his Facebook and found out he had a girlfriend 2 states away, and that's where he was going. Not camping like he said. The girlfriend knew all about my mum too. To make it worse, my dad lived off my mum for years because he was disabled and was using her income to fund his road trip. My parents divorced after 34 years. My mum married a friend of hers and is happy. She said she wishes they had divorced after the first affair. My dad still lives off his girlfriend and continues to cheat. But dad doesn't respect your mum enough to work out whatever issues they may have. Leave her or simply not cheat. Even worse, he had the audacity to make fun of her with his affair partner. That's low. Your mum deserves to know the truth. She deserves the opportunity to make a decision for herself and her future, not to mention for her health. There's always the possibility of him giving her an STD. I won't lie, blowing up my dad's life was hard and affected our relationship a bit, but I would do it again. My only regret is I didn't tell my mum that I suspected his infidelity the whole time. Before you do anything, make sure you have screenshots. You can approach him with an ultimatum to tell her, or you will. Or go straight to her depending on your family dynamics. I really encourage you to find a way. Max Zaddy says, honestly, I don't know how you'll be able to look at your dad knowing how he talks about your mum to you while he's also having a full-blown affair. I would take screenshots of the convo and tell him you know. Opie says I did take screenshots. At the time, I wasn't sure what for other than to show my fiance, but I do have them just in case. I really don't know how I'm going to be able to look at him either. Distance is a blessing until I figure out what I need to do. Spirited Complex replies to that saying you really need to tell your mum. I know this is difficult for you, but if you really care about your mum and her well-being, then you would find a way to just toughen up and tell her very soon. If you sit on this for a long time and your mum discovers that you've been aware of the situation all this time, this will also affect your relationship with your mum in a negative way. It will feel like a double betrayal to your mum, and she didn't even do anything wrong. Please don't drag this on. If you sit on this information without informing your mum, you're basically protecting your dad in his infidelity. And one more comment which says, I mean, you said it yourself. Your mum is an innocent victim. You fucked around and found out. Your dad is fucking around, and you don't know how to tell your mum that her husband is cheating on her and allowing another woman to talk shit about her. Honestly, it's fucked up. You say it's not your responsibility, but you're just keeping your dad's fucked up secret. He needs to know he fucked up and feel like a piece of shit. And I would go all out being petty by finding a way to get in touch with Stacey's husband and sending them screenshots of her and your dad's convos. If you don't tell your mum, that's just all the way fucked up, period. So OP does update the post and says, so I finally called my mum. Her and my dad spent the day together at their cottage, so I waited until they were home and asked if she could go somewhere alone so we could talk on the phone. Her reaction was nothing like I imagined. She sounded like she already knew. Her reaction also made me feel like this wasn't the first time this has happened. She laughed and asked me what I thought I saw. She blamed herself and said that she doesn't meet my dad's needs. I explained to her that's not fair and that she doesn't deserve to be lied and cheated on and put at risk for STDs. I said the way they spoke about my mum in the chat was disgusting and that this was wrong. She asked to see screenshots, so I sent them to her. She kept reassuring me that her and my dad were in it for the long haul and wouldn't divorce. I told her I didn't care about that. I said no matter her decision, I supported her either way. Even though it wasn't what I was anticipating, I felt relieved. I felt like a weight had been lifted. She thanked me for telling her and said that I would always be her sweet girl. Everything seemed to be going well until she spoke to and confronted my dad and then called me back. I don't know what happened with the conversation between her and my dad, but it's clear that he is a master manipulator and not at all the person I thought he was prior to all this. My mum's tone had completely shifted on the phone. She was scolding me. He confirmed the affair. He confirmed everything I had said and brought forward to her. Somehow, they are blaming me. They're telling me I'm wrong. My mum told me that she's read all the screenshots I sent but had nothing to say about them. They're staying together and in her words, this is just a bump in the road. They've had highs and lows and they'll have lows again. I said I would support her either way, so I can't be mad, but I can't help but be sad at how low she thinks of herself to accept this behavior. I love your dad and he loves me. What a horrible message to send to your child. She told me that guilt does bad things to people, that she thinks I got myself worked up over nothing. She told me it was wrong of me to look at his Instagram messages and that it was a breach of trust. Ironic considering my dad committed the biggest breach of trust there is in a marriage. I also never would have looked at his messages had he not planted the seed of infidelity in my brain. She explained my dad is very angry with me and she doesn't know if our relationship is repairable. I assume my dad would be mad at me, of course, but for my mum to seemingly side with him and turn her back on me too is almost too much to take. I know that she's being manipulated, but this is where it ends, I guess. I can't stand to look at either of them. I feel like I was just orphaned. I can't fight a fight someone doesn't want me to on their behalf. Deep down, I know I'm not to blame for this, don't get me wrong. But it's really hard to not feel awful when your parents, whom you've trusted, turn their back on you. I do feel like I did right by myself in telling my mum the truth, but I can't help but think that everything would have been easier if I never said anything. My dad still follows Stacey. He has blocked me and my fiance on all social media platforms. He's quite literally showing that he chooses a fair partner over his daughter. I know he's reacting out of embarrassment and anger, but I've blocked him in return. He doesn't get to choose when he comes back into my life. All of this hurts a lot. And that's an incredibly sad update, and one that we've seen before in these stories where it seems to just get brushed under the carpet. And I'm not saying OP should be doing anything about this. I think, they should be stepping back from this situation myself, because I really don't know what you could suggest to repair this until mum wakes up to what she's going through, which I do feel incredibly bad for her for, because, with the way the dad is and using a classic Darvo tactic right in front of us here, trying to make OP be the bad person in this situation, you can clearly see what type of person this is. And when you spent like 20 odd years of marriage to this person, then shit, that's a lot of years of this kind of behavior, which it may not have been going on all this time for sure, but we just don't know, do we? And I feel really bad for OP as well. Imagine like after all this time that you discover this person, your father, is not the person you thought he was. That is rough. In the comments, someone below that apologized for how they spoke to OP in the previous post. They called him a bit of a coward for not telling the mum immediately, to which OP responded and says, "Thank you for the apology. I did see your comment, but I also understand that people are going to have varying points of view. It is Reddit after all. At least you weren't the person who suggested I hate my mum, lol. But seriously, I do appreciate the apology. It's been a sensitive week as you can imagine. Truthfully, it was selfish of me to think of not telling my mum. I am overall grateful that Reddit, my friends, and my fiance pushed me to do the right thing, regardless of the outcome. Obviously, this is not the way I thought it would go, but even knowing this, I would still tell the truth again. I'm sure Stacey will get tired of my dad's bullshit eventually. It's just a matter of time before she realizes what a winner she has picked. I'm just thankful I won't be around to see it. Even with my dad's affair aside, his reaction to being outed and his treatment of a woman and people in his life that he supposedly cares about speaks volumes. I will choose if and when he is welcome back into my life, as much as it may hurt to not have him here. I definitely thought of some funny ideas to fuck with Stacey, but overall I think I'm better to just walk away and let karma run its course. Their workplace is small, and so is the town they live in. Everything works itself out in good time. Someone suggests just now going total no contact with both of them, and Opie says, "Thank you so much. Even though my mum has hurt me with a thing she said, if she needs me, the door is open. I haven't blocked her as I see her as a victim still. As for my dad, it will take a lot to repair the damage and the hurt he has caused me. I'm thankful for the next steps in my life. My fiance has a wonderful family who I know will support me and accept me moving forward. I'm very thankful for them and to be marrying into such a kind, loving family. Thank you so much for your kind words." And there was many people saying, you should be total no contact with both of them. But I think if I was in OP's position, I would agree with what they said there and keeping that door open for mum, because from what we've seen in this one story, like as always, I don't know the full ins and outs of their lives, but from this one story, we're seeing some really shit behavior from father. We're seeing Darvo tactics being used, OP being turned around to being the bad person in this situation. And we're seeing, quite frankly, an odd response from the mother finding out that her husband is cheated. And when I say odd, I mean bloody concerning. And if you keep pressing the issue with her, what's going to happen? Is she going to get angry with you? Is she going to want to cut contact with you? You just take a step back and, hopefully she comes to her senses and approaches you. And like you said, you left that door open so you can talk about it. And hopefully she can be more open about it and come to terms with what's going on around her, because it really doesn't feel like she has. And OP expresses their concern that they do have a younger brother who is a minor that they are also worried about in the situation. There's other people as well to consider. So in my mind right now, all I can think of, like OP is done taking that step back, keeping your distance, but also leaving that door open for the mum at the same time. Other people suggesting, you need to tell the other guy as well, Stacey's partner, and let him know that he's being cheated on at the same time. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And now just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always, absolutely always means the world to me. Yesterday we covered some neighbor related drama, and honestly guys, your comments made my day. I know those videos don't always perform amazing on the channel because it's not what we usually cover, but people have been asking for a little bit of variety here and there, and I do like to accommodate that, and I do like to read different types of stories at the same time as well. I think it just breaks it up and makes it a bit more fun. Gives me a chance to relate to more of these stories as well, especially the neighbor-related ones. I've got a lot of crazy stories about that sort of stuff, and it's always fun hearing about your stories as well down in the comments and learning more about you. It's one of my favorite things on this channel is talking to you lovely folks and getting involved. It feels like, sitting at the pub and just talking with a bunch of mates talking shit, Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you did enjoy, and I hope you do join me on the next one, and I will see you soon. Much love to you.